If Trump wants, Ukraine will join NATO. Ukraine will never recognize occupied territories as part of Russia. And how Trump tasks US envoy Kellogg with ending war in Ukraine within 100 days. The latest news next. Newly appointed U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that the goal of the Trump administration is to end the war in Ukraine so that a new war does not start, reported by Marco Rubio in an interview with CBS Mornings.
It's the policy of the United States that we want it, the war, editor, to end. We want to do everything we can to help it end. We're going to engage in making it end in a way that is sustainable. Meaning we don't just want the conflict to end and then restart in 2, 3, or 4 years down the road. We want to bring stability.
About details, Rubio stressed that Ukraine is paying the highest price in terms of its energy infrastructure to the people and lives that are lost to the millions of Ukrainians that have had to leave their country and are living overseas. He added that everyone should be very happy that Donald Trump was elected President of the United States because he wants to promote peace in the world and bring an end to these conflicts. US President Donald Trump has tasked Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Kit Kellogg, with ending the war in Ukraine within 100 days. However, few believe he will succeed. The Wall Street Journal reports. According to the source, Kellogg's role as a special envoy to Ukraine is likely to initial step in peace negotiations that Trump intends to oversee personally. However, reaching an agreement with Russian President Vladimir Putin will prove far more challenging than Trump promised during this campaign. The report notes that Russia has shown no interest in cooperating with Kellogg. At the same time, the Kremlin speculates that an understanding between Trump and Putin could lead to improved US-Russia relations under Trump's presidency. Both leaders stated that they have not yet had a personal conversation but pledged to do so soon. Former US National Security Advisor John Bolton expressed the concern that Trump might push Kyiv into making damaging concessions to Moscow during future negotiations. Quote, "I think Putin knows how to play Trump, and Kellogg is unlikely to act as a counterbalance to Putin's influence," Bolton said. He will simply follow Trump's orders. He may briefly protest, but Trump chose Kellogg not for his independent judgment, the former U.S. National Security Advisor added. Kellogg's former colleagues explained that he was appointed as an envoy to Ukraine after co-authoring a peace plan that criticized the Biden administration for slow military aid delivery while accusing it of provoking Moscow by encouraging Ukraine's NATO aspirations. This plan was published by the America First Policy Institute, a think tank aligned with Trump's policies. It called for a ceasefire and conflict resolution through negotiations, using a carrot and stick approach to compel Russia and Ukraine to the negotiating table. Key points of Kellogg's plan. The plan recommended delaying Ukraine's NATO membership and offering Russia sanctions relief in exchange for signing a peace agreement. It also proposed halting military aid to Kyiv if the Ukrainian government refused to engage in peace talks. The Wall Street Journal noted that Kremlin officials ridiculed the plan as unfeasible. Meanwhile, Seth Jones, a political scientist and defense expert at the Center of Strategic and International Studies, described Kellogg as a serious analyst whose presence in Trump's circle aims to strengthen decision-making on Ukraine at the White House. However, Jones pointed out that the Kremlin's personal attacks on Kellogg and his plan bode poorly for an agreement. Negotiations haven't even started, and they are already attacking the lead American involved. This does not look promising for talks or even a ceasefire, the expert said. About potential Russia-Ukraine negotiations, recently the West has raised the issue of potential negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, particularly after Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential election. Trump himself supports the idea of quickly ending hostilities and transitioning to dialogue. He believes Ukrainian President Zelensky is inclined toward reaching a peace agreement with Russia. However, Trump may impose new sanctions on Russia if Putin refuses to negotiate over the war in Ukraine. US President Donald Trump could influence whether Ukraine joins NATO, as only 4 alliance member countries oppose this, President Volodymyr Zelensky reports. According to Ukraine's president, some countries initially conducted opaque policies toward Ukraine and did not support its NATO membership. Those were simply false words that Ukraine would join NATO because decades passed and Ukraine never became a NATO member. It was dishonest, Zelensky said. The Ukrainian leader believes that the United States and Germany had weak positions on Ukraine's accession to NATO and engaged in dialogue with Russia on this issue. However, they appear to have lost this dialogue as they continue to refer to some past agreements with Russia.
Why did you suddenly negotiate about us without us? We are an independent country. I would like to restore a level of respect for Ukraine from others. We are fighting for security guarantees. We want to be in NATO, and most NATO countries support us. However, 4 countries do not support our membership: the US, Germany, Slovakia, and Hungary. Nevertheless, everything depends on the US. If Trump is ready to see Ukraine in NATO, we will be in NATO. Everyone will agree. If not, we won't join NATO.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that Ukraine will not agree to any compromise involving the recognition of occupied territories as part of Russia, even under pressure from all allies, reported by Zelensky during a meeting with members of the International Media Council. Zelensky emphasized that the occupied territories would always remain Ukrainian until they are returned to state control.
No matter what anyone wants, even if all the allies in the world unite, we will never recognize the occupied territories as part of Russia. This is impossible. We will not legally recognize them. For us, they will always remain occupied territories until we liberate them.
Zelensky stressed that dialogue with Russia should only occur from a position of strength, as any attempt to treat the aggressor as unequal would signify defeat for Ukraine.
Putin cannot be treated as legitimate in this situation. He has violated everything. He must understand his transgression, but he cannot be stopped, and if approached as an equal, that would be a loss for Ukraine.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe.